this week we have another fantastic chat.
Yeah.
With Hilton Ariel Ruiz, and it was wonderful.
Writer, director, producer, web series maker, everythinger extraordinaire.
Yeah. I mean, it's all out there. He's got like all media fronts.
He's a one-man army.
You know, they had the Zombie with a Shotgun comic.
Yeah.
The web series, the feature, and we're going to be talking about Zombie with a Shotgun 2.
Yeah.
And, well, what you can do to help bring it up, folks. Bring it to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful chat. He's a fun, cool, real, busy dude.
He is really awesome. I would love to have an opportunity to be in, you know, these different places in the country to sit with not just him, but, you know, all these folks and just like sit and like shoot the shit, you know?
Well, if we had the money, we would get tickets to go visit Kyle. We'd get tickets to go visit the Pondo boys. We'd get tickets down to South Carolina, down to wherever Kentucky is.
Yeah.
Okay, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Out to New York to visit Hilton. We'd just like have coffee and, you know, chat with these people. Over to Scotland.
David and Liam and everybody.
Down to Cape Town.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Hell yeah.
Go see Ryan.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a good chat. This one, folks, is we wanted to talk about Zombie with a Shotgun 2, but it's also, there's like no agenda, right? We just kind of like go all over the place. Now it's a industry oriented chat,
yes,
which is awesome. But Hilton is just so much fun, and he's got this project, and we wanted to help and try and get that out there even more. But I think you'll enjoy this. It's, you know, it's Hilton just being Hilton, and he has so much great like insight and experience and stuff, and he's just super fun to talk to. You know?
Do you know what he also has that wasn't really mentioned in the talk, but you know, on his like Twitter and Instagram and everything, he posts pictures of super cute doggies.
Yes,
videos of him all the time. And
every chat we've had with him,
the dogs
made an appearance. And they're such lovely creatures.
Yeah.
They're so beautiful and they're just so happy.
Yeah.
But yes, we've had them in the background. Not like Twisty over there, who's just like glaring into the camera when we're talking to people.
Yeah, my Funko Pop Twisty.
Yeah, I love it.
Creeps behind me.
So anyway, yeah, you're up for something fun, folks. And I think you're going to enjoy this.
Well, let's do it.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Hey, B-Siders. Welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. This is Jim.
And this is Danny.
And we have with us today Hilton Ariel Ruiz, the master of Zombie with a Shotgun. A couple shorts.
Klans Rule.
Yep. 6666. Or do you call it 6666?
You can call it either or. 4 6s, 6666. Absolutely. Everyone has a different way. And I don't think I think it's so cool that you can use it in any different type of way.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show again.
Welcome again.
Thank you guys. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, like we were saying just before we started, this is the third time. So Hilton is the the master of the guest chair, as it were.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be awesome. So we mentioned when we did the recording for Frankenhooker that we would be talking to you and about a sequel. So we're just going to jump into that. You are campaigning to get funds for Zombie with a Shotgun 2, correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so it's interesting how times has changed, right? So when I campaigned for the first one, Zombie with a Shotgun, not a lot of people know this, but it took us 3 years to actually completely raise monies for that film.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to myself, I'll never ever do that again. and it was very it's not even a 9 to 5 job. It's a 24/7 job, because you can miss that person that says, "Hey, I want to." It could be 2 o'clock in the morning, and somebody says, "Hey, I want to put money into your campaign. I just want to ask you a few questions about it."
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be there, or you lose that person. You never speak to that person, and you don't know how many times, like, just to get like a $5. Listen, any money goes. It doesn't matter. $5, $10, it doesn't really matter. And sometimes you could talk to somebody for like an hour and just DMing each other and say, "Hey, this is a film, blah 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 blah." So I was like, "Oh, I could never do that again." That was like draining, And Kyle Hester, who was part of producing the project, him and I was just like exhausted, like do these campaigns, raising monies and stuff like that. Boom, movie was released 3 years after raising the money. Movie came out, was released in November 28th, 2019. And when the movie was released, we had so much buzz. I mean, we were getting podcasts, we would get interviews, we were getting so much investors coming in to do with a sequel. We were in the midst of twice a week with investors that were so interested in doing a part 2. And then 3 months, boom, COVID.
Yeah.
It destroyed everything. I've never even spoke to the investors ever again since then. We completely stopped on the interviews and podcasts and everything that would help propel the first one. Even the conventions, we were, thinking about going to the conventions to tour the film, and that was just done. And then, time went by. I felt like, wow, and the indie artists are done. I've many of the actors that were in Zombie with a Shotgun moved away from New York, starting doing things differently. Some, crew members are completely doing totally different things. They left the industry saying that it's just they can't make. There's no monies to make because the indie world is completely shut down.
Right.
People went to different sorts of things. From just going back home to their families, just doing different things. And I was like, okay, I just, you saw the writing on the wall, and I started to all right, let me figure this out. That's when I decided to do that short film, Klans Rules. I wanted to do something to get my mind and see, okay, we could get things done. Even that was really complicated to do, to get actors during COVID. But the main thing was the sequel. It's like, oh my God, what are we going to do with this sequel? There's nobody who's giving money like they used to. You would,
right.
you could convince people to give you, a couple $1,000s here and there. It's like, oh man. So me and Kyle, we just talk and say, hey, let's do the campaign and everything. And Kyle gave me a suggestion. It's like, hey, you should start a Patreon page first and see how that goes. So I did the Patreon page, which is also for the sequel. That is actually doing pretty well too. And then we went to campaign. The campaign obviously is not doing that well. But I figured maybe because the Patreon, there are so many, Patrons on the page that possibly, that's not echoing out with the campaign. But again, I tell everybody, the film is going to be made regardless what. It took us, again, 3 years to make Zombie with a Shotgun.
Yeah.
But we just keep on rolling, and that's it. I'm really excited. The film, again, as I explained, it's going to be vampires is going to be introduced and stuff like that. So yeah, things are really different. Even with the whole just everything. It's just strange. But I believe that we're coming out of it, and I believe that look, even what's going on now with the whole the Netflix is subscription is going down, and is it time for people are tired of this content that we've been seeing stuck at home for the last over 2 years. But yeah, I mean, I think that we're almost out of it. But Zombie with Shotgun 2, I really, really excited about it. And again, we're going to go forward with it no matter what.
Excellent. I just real quick, what you said about Netflix, when I read that, things going down, they're worried about password sharing and what were they going to do? It's funny, because we belong to Stage 32 online, creative. It's like Facebook for creatives.
Oh, and, yes.
Yep. They have
filmmakers and stuff.
They have no less than 7 webinars that they're selling for Netflix, how to pitch Netflix, how to create a comedy or a drama or a feature or a series for all these different things, all specifically for Netflix, which they've never done before. And I think Netflix is kind of like reaching out. Like you said, people get tired of that. I mean, the people who made Tiger King, they're thankful for the pandemic, because without the pandemic, a lot of people would have just popped right by that. Like, I don't know what this is all about, but we were like everybody else on the planet. We're like, well, we've got nowhere to be and nothing to do. Let's dive into this thing. Let's watch everything that there is. But yeah, there's a lot of things to break into here.
Well, I mean, I think the world has changed so much over the last couple of years. And so the landscape of how we know how to do things and, how we go about making films and what we do, I think has changed. And I think it's actually, once we figure out the new landscape, it'll be a really good opportunity to get up in it,
Yeah.
Once we all get the ground under our feet.
Yeah. And I know there are people who have said like indie filmmaking is going to suffer from this. And I really don't think so. I think Hollywood is the most inflexible in change in how things done. I think indie film, just for what it is, you can bend with the wind. You know what I mean? And if this is how we have to do it, this is how we have to do it. So I want to jump into this, so making a sequel to something like this, you already kind of brought it up. People have gone different directions. Pandemic has forced people to, take different steps, because you gotta eat, gotta pay the rent. And things, as we all knew it, weren't there. So you want to do this sequel. There are key players in the movie, Zombie with a Shotgun, that are going to carry over. How much more aggravating or stressful is it to plan this sequel? I mean, do you try to hunt these people down, see if they have availability? Or do you start thinking recasts? Is it too soon?
Yeah.
And you're just fingers crossed? What's up?
That's interesting. Did you say that? Yeah, it seems like it's both. It's like fingers crossed, and a lot of the stuff has to be rewritten to like a whole different sort of an angle that we had to take for Zombie with a Shotgun, because some people just completely just not there available anymore. And I get it. It's just like, what we said about, you got to pay your bills.
Yeah.
And people just got to pay the bills. I totally get it. This is an indie, even, especially how we did, it was very indie. We just, it was like such an indie filmmaking, what we did. And people that came on board was just, people that really, just, that's what they live, that's what they love. There was a passion for them. And, passion doesn't pay the bills, right? As they say.
Oh yeah.
and so a lot of people have left. The only good thing is, our main guy, he's still down with it. And that's, of course, Kyle's down with it. And a couple other people I hunted down, they're cool with it for now, like I said, fingers crossed. But there's a lot of people's gone. And, I get it. I mean, I think everybody at times, we were like, wow, I was like, I don't even know what am I going to do, because I wasn't in the system. I wasn't working in the system. So it wasn't easy for like, all right, just wait for the pandemic is over. We'll have a job to do. You know what I mean? After it's done. So it's like, fuck, it's like, what do I, what do I do? I mean, but I have to say, like I would say in the past 2 months that I started seeing, I've starting to get a lot of text messages, calls, emails of people saying, hey, what are you doing? You got any scripts available? We'd love to read this. We'd love to do that. And so I was like, it's opening up. Things are opening up. And so that is a good sign. It just seems like every time there's like a little, like, the engine starts a little bit, something in the world comes up,
Yep.
Like the war kind of like was like if this, unfortunately we had this war, but I even speak to Kyle. I was like, dude, if we never had this war, I think things would have been like starting so much better. And the war just was such a, it's definitely not backdrop, you can't ignore it. Right. And it's like, I just tell him, damn, man, this war really like kind of put like a little like strain on people. But hey, just got to keep on going, and but yeah, summer's here. Let's see if I don't know, this whole thing with this COVID, no one knows what the hell's going on. But indie film, I agree with you. Indie film will always be there. It's always going to be there. Hollywood has to figure out what, they always going to try to figure out. Netflix has, look, Netflix still has money. There's this whole thing about possibly Russia was the cause of them losing, like their stocks going down and everything like that. And I mean, like when the whole COVID had happened, I think a lot of us weren't at that time where we were thinking about what art we want to see, we want to watch. Our minds were set. It's like, all right, what are we going to do now? People were spending time with their families.
Yeah.
People, recessing their lives. Like, this is the career that I want to keep continuing. And now that people's coming out of the caves, I think people are like, I don't want to watch that stuff no more. We were forced to watch that sort of content.
Right.
And, I think it's over. We're coming out. Summer's here. We don't want to watch TV no more. And that's another conversation I had. I think people, the subscription is low. And you have to put everything in perspective of like why maybe the streaming numbers are down. And one of the things I said is like, nobody wants to be inside no more. Everybody wants to be out. And it's like, I'm not watching TV no more. I'm going out, going to the beach. I'm going whatever, see my family, my friends. And I think we have to really think about that. That could be a reason of why these numbers are down. Yeah. And people, give it some time. And like, again, summer's here, winter will be back, and people come back home and hibernate. But I think that's a little bit of a reason why streaming numbers going down.
Well, it's like they didn't learn anything from how network television worked and still works. Shows doing well, they got to like move some things around. Anytime they move a show to Friday night, it would fail. The next season, it would be canceled because nobody's home Friday night. They've been in home watching TV all week, right? And Friday night's the night to go out. And from, the 18 to 36 crowd, they have no intention of sitting at home on the weekend, watching their network shows. So ratings go down. And what do they say? Oh, your show sucks now, so you're out. And, it's that same thing. Netflix, they got to figure something out. Well, I think part of the problem is their money drain is after Tiger King, I noticed they had just like, I don't even know what to call it, just like shotguns in every direction. They were just making so many things. And like Danny said at one point, just to see what sticks on the wall. Right. They had the money. They had the time. They're like, you know what? There's so many people watching now. Even if half of this is shit, they're still going to watch it. So
you had no choice.
Yeah.
And I think there's also something that there's a little bit writing on the wall that shows that people are tired of these films have like a political sort of like, storytelling to it. People just don't want to watch that anymore. People just want to like, let me just watch something just to get away what I keep on hearing and seeing every day. Yep. And then you come home and you put like, especially, I'm sorry, Netflix does have a lot of those films. You go on and like, I don't want to watch this, dude. I was all day at work and driving, radio, everything. I just want to, you just don't see it. It's so funny because every time you watch the top 10 trending of Netflix, you see that most of it has an agenda.
Yeah.
And, it's like, I think they should, I get that. That's okay. That's nothing wrong with that. But, you got to cater to the other people. I mean, you got to give to the mobster genre. What happened to the action hero genre? Where's those kind of, that genre stuff is not, you just can't like angle it just to one sort of, and again, I have nothing wrong with that. Just give to the other people that love stuff, and think about it. We have never seen, there's no more like hardcore mafia like television series. When did we see like a mafia television series in a long time? Like Netflix has all the money for it.
Right. Yeah. Since Sopranos, I mean, that's kind of been it. There's been shows where there's like they're in the periphery. Right. And then that's it. It's not based on it. Even like you have so much money to do like a, 80s sort of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like action hero television series. You got this big
monster looking guy that goes and, they have so much money to do that. And where is it? It's like, it's not there. I mean, there's so many people that are 70s and 80s babies that love that kind of like, even kung fu, just like there's nothing that's there that, there's nothing that I guess they're trying to get away from that whole, like, I guess what they would say, like, I don't know, macho kind of stuff. But times it's the people, when they say, when the people speak, things start to change. I mean, so I think that's where we're heading towards. But
yeah, I could do with some more evens, like the modern shows. Like I loved The Wire. That was like pure 70s grit, detective crime, underbelly stuff. They just, unlike the 70s, they had the money to have more characters, more subplots, and it just made it more enriching, and then poop.
Yeah. My last show was True Detective. Oh my God. That first season was unbelievable. And then, they forced the writer to create more subplot, like, it's too, sexist and all that. And then season 2 came out, season 3, and that's it, done. He was upset. I read a whole article about that they sort of, put him in the corner and say, hey, look, you got to start writing these sort of stories. They didn't give him the freedom to write what he wanted to write. Even though he did, it's just they gave him an angle where he should, write his stories towards. But that first season, and like you said, Wire, it's like, but yeah, HBO, matter of fact, I read that HBO looks like out of their numbers, their numbers are still doing good.
Well, that's good for them.
Yeah. Maybe they'll learn. They will eventually. They'll have to. Or they have to face the wall,
Well, I mean, I think in order to, like you were saying, Hilton, people want to get out. They want to do stuff. They want to spend time with their family. I think, like we've got to figure out a way that we can kind of marry those two where people can, where it's an experience, right? Watching a film or watching a show or doing something like that. Like, I'm on a lot of email lists, and I got an email for a Lights Fest, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And they were charging like $100 and something a ticket. And essentially you go to this field and you get a paper lantern and they play some music and you can like light the lantern and it floats away. And I'm like, $100? What? For a paper?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they were selling out like crazy quick.
Because people are hungry for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, and that also I've wondered too, how much of like the whole Netflix streaming thing, they're not Hollywood. So they're this, the streamers are the new entities that have been around for a little while. How many people like during the pandemic started gearing towards that? Because, Hilton doesn't have any work for me and he's not going to, but there's some opportunities over here, that whole, you just make a sandwich of all of your morals and standards and you just take a big bite out of it and spit it out. It's like, again, got to pay the rent. Cause like I said, with all the focus on like Netflix and getting in there, I wonder how many people have been distracted by that. Cause it seems like, you go where the money is and it looks like they got a giant money tree over there. And, I feel like a lot of indie folks kind of like started pursuing that because it's,
kind of you got a really good point. That's a really good point. You're right. This whole sort of like a cult, come to me, follow me, it's like, and your wishes will come true. And everybody just sort of like got brainwashed of this is the way we have to write. This is the way we have to tell stories. Yep. This is the place that we have to be to be known as the filmmaker or whatever. Yeah, that's a really good point you're making. Yeah.
Well, and I know we had talked with someone before, and we've mentioned it just in general. Netflix it's like a new car smell, right? Doesn't matter what kind of car you get. Doesn't matter where you get it from. That new car smell. Netflix, all of their productions have that like Netflix smell. There's a sameness to the way they're shot, the way they look. It's like they don't even. It's like if we were still working in film, dude, there's so many different grades of film out there. Try another one. Just, match it up. It's very, you can just look at something. It's one of those things you're like, and it's not always a bad thing, but they have a same.
Yeah, it's like the cookie cutter kind of thing, right? It's, everything is sort of like they send the same team to the next film. You know, that's how they do it. So it's like, go, we got this film, go same team, go ahead, boom, everybody hops on it. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, there's no sort of like experimenting kind of like stuff. I mean, I just saw a film that came last week that they just released, and same thing like you said. Like, wait a minute, this just seems like I just saw. You know, this is the same production. Was this the same production? You know, it's like this is the same damn production team. This just did the same damn like feel and look and everything. It just, but. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of like sad too, right? Like you said, there's so many different sort of like feels and looks and film and everything, and no one's really exploring that, you know. And you know, I you know, there's another thing too is interesting too is like, does people really watch these things? Like, you know, like every time like you know you're watching a film, somebody's on their phone.
Yeah,
everybody's on their phone.
Yes.
Like, and I'm just thinking like you know, like with Snapchat and TikTok, people watching these things more than they're watching Netflix. These like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And I think we're all like guilty of that, right? And it's just so interesting. It's like, if there can be some sort of like, I don't know, something intertwined to that to make something work. But every time,
I think maybe
get off the phone. Everybody's on the phone.
Well, we say that all the time. In this house, our daughter is just constantly, you know, we're like, oh my God. Okay, put it down. Family time. I think the answer to that is less choice. We need less content on Netflix. You know, we need less. If you have less to choose from, it's easier to me to get engaged with, it's like going into a record store, right? You know, you have a specific band that you liked. And what is the first thing people do? They'd flip through the stack. They'd find their band, new album. They'd flip it over. They'd read the liner notes on the back. What do we got going here? Is this something that I'm interested in or not? Rather than just kind of flipping through and then, you know, the next shiny object gets you away from the stacks kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, just a better way to like organize and figure out what you like. Like, I don't know necessarily that having less content available is a good thing, but I think that like if you could, I don't know, their algorithms for figuring out what you like suck.
Well,
on every platform.
There is. Like, well, look at like network television. They still follow the old school stuff. You only have so many slots you can fill, right? You know, NBC is not starting up 50 new channels so they can populate it with 24-hour programming. I think, you know, by less just means also, you know, stop putting everything out. Like we go in bursts. We're like, is there anything? And then like some shows that we've been watching, all of a sudden 6 of them, bam, we're back. And we're like, we're flooded with content, you know, trying to catch up on these 6 shows and 8 to 10 episodes per show, maybe 13. And then there's just like stark silence because all that stuff that they have, you know, same, this and that. Just like, I don't want to, you know, I would love to go back to, the formula that was working for a little while, like first 4 episodes pop out and you can like bust through those and then it goes 1 a week, kind of keep you engaged. To me, there's just so many things missing. And it's not just, you know, television. It's like from movies, you know, well, if Netflix is going to put out 15 feature films, I don't have that hunger. Right. And that's what, you know, indie film you just love is like, ooh, you know, it's going to be a while. Hilton's going to make a movie. Okay. Well, I'm in no rush to get to the theater because it's going to be a little while. Right.
Yeah.
But it's that salivating, that hunger, that expectation, that anticipation of finally it's here. And, you know, very few instances does it ever disappoint. And then it just kind of, you savor it. And that's why you watch Zombie with a Shotgun like 15 times, because in the interim, you know, you just want to keep living that experience rather than, November, Zombie with a Shotgun comes out. The following June, it's Zombie with a Shotgun 14. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's too much. It's like eating a good meal too fast. You just don't get to savor it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, you said a lot of good stuff there. One of the things that you said too is like, the experiences and all that stuff. Yesterday I was 45 minutes looking to watch something. We all do this, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So I'm 45 minutes trying to look for something. And let me tell you, I have majority all the platforms between me and my son who has his own, I told him, okay, I'll get this and you get that. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
so I said, you pay for those subscriptions, I pay for these subscriptions, so he has Paramount and he has the HBO Max. He has the ones, the unconventional ones, I have the Netflix, Prime and everything. So we share everything. I'm going through Hulu, everything. 45 minutes. I'm like, oh my God. You know what I end up watching? You Can't Buy Me Love. Patrick Dempsey.
Yes.
And that movie, and I'm watching the movie and everything I'm watching is about experiences and nostalgic that we don't have. And I think that's why I went back to that film. I mean, you're watching that film and you see like the girls are watching that moment that television news broadcast came up. We don't have that no more because we have phones and everything like that.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, look, that's, I remember when we used to do that. I remember when we used to do that time of when we were high school that you had, these, it just brought you back of what times used to be and the experience that you never forget. And it just, I felt like that, that was real. Like now you watch stuff, it's fake. It's even though the movie has this sort of like, good looking people around, not everyone's good looking and everything like that and everybody, but it was real. It was, those things did happen in school, you had, and now when you watch movies, it doesn't really explode. Like, come on, Euphoria, whatever that thing. I mean, come on, it's like this whole, come on, it's like, but I have 45 minutes and that's the movie I'm watching. Are you talking about a horror guy? And I went to watch Ken Buck.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've done that. I mean, we just did
on Boondock Saints the other day, just to,
we end up watching something we've already seen or something we own.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, let's just, bring this in. It's crazy stuff. I want to circle back a little bit here. Now, indie filmmaking, almost everyone we spoke to, everyone has like a posse. It's not like everything you do is, the same cameraman, but there's always this, this whole business is about creating connections.
Yeah. And indie crew's got a core group, usually.
And you have like some go-to people, their work, they've worked with you before and stuff. So we talk about people, like leaving the industry and stuff. Like actors is one thing, a lot. I mean, we've talked to a lot of people who used to do this and they're just like, just, you can only go hungry for so long. And then you got to get like a real job, like a real grown up, and just kind of, they turn their backs on it. From the technical aspect though, I mean, we're not talking just, a guy to shoot the camera. There's so many things that are involved, especially with Zombie with Shotgun. Like when we first talked about the film with you, that whole thing with the makeup was like the last minute. It's like, the 11th hour that came to pass. And the only thing you couldn't get out of it was the appliances for the teeth. Right.
Yeah.
We were like, man, that was awesome. That happened because that was a monster payoff. Now, so you have an effects guy, you have an effects company, and then you have, the makeup, all of these things. I mean, at this juncture, how do you feel like in your heart? How confident and set are you that when, say the check came in today, bam, the magic donor comes up and you're like, all right, let's get rolling. Do you see this as like a relatively easy thing to get the people that you need from the technical side, the talent and skills to, make everything happen behind the scenes? Or is this going to be another deep slog where you're going to have to like rethink things and, how much, I mean, how does that work? I guess, do you allot like so much time? If I can't find a new effects person, then we're not going to elevate. We're going to go with what we had because it worked before and focus on something else, or. What of the millions of decisions can you talk about with us?
So yeah, that is a good question. So like there's like certain tiers. So let's say, let's just say there's that $75,000 tier of camera guys and effects guys that I'm going to use. Now let's say we get $150,000, and we're like, oh, we gotta bring this up a little bit more.
Right.
So it's like, okay, we're probably going to get a bigger camera package, and we're probably going to bring in another guy in who, specializes on the equipment and everything like that, and possibly see if the makeup artist will get, will bring it up. So it all comes down to tiers of how much, of how much money we're going to raise. The more money we're going to raise, we're definitely we'll bring in much, better stuff. Of course it'd be cool to shoot and film, but that's another story.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's where it comes down to. But overall, it's definitely, as a indie filmmaker, as a person that makes a lot, because I make mostly all the decisions. You start to think and you say, okay, it's make or break, right? You have to figure it out. Like, what are, like, my decision was having the storyline for the sequel. That was something that I was thinking about. Okay, how are the storyline in the film is going to depend on how we're going to create this new, the makeup and everything, and the money, of course, the budget. So I decided that we're going to have Aaron zombified throughout the whole film.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to cost a lot of money on makeup and stuff.
Right.
So we have to figure out possibly going in and making these prosthetic masks. So when he puts it on, we could just put, the touches on it and stuff like that. But I think there's both. I think it definitely is sort of like kind of like, there is a sort of like dragging kind of thing, like, this is going to be tough to think about. And, like this is going to be everything. But it all has to do with the money. You have the more money you have, the more you're able to have help come in. You get more hands to help on and create this stuff. And of course, it's no brainer. The less money you have, it becomes more of a one-man show making the decisions.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where that comes with.
See, and the writing aspect of this kind of thing too, like we write, and in the back of our head is, we don't give a shit how this plays out. I mean, this is up to the director and the producers to figure out to make it work, right? Because we have no intention of writing and directing and producing our own full scopes. That's kind of why we got into it. We're writers. And I've been very vocal on how much I hate doing fucking editing and color correction and stuff on the little shorts that we did. and so I hate it so much, they're still not done.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No, a lot of people hate it.
I can't imagine having like, this is the sequel and you reach that point where you're like, yes, this is the opus I was looking for. And then dealing, you have all these hats, the writer's hat. I mean, there's nothing more pleasing than reaching a point where you're like, this is the golden script. I can't edit this anymore. This works. Bam. This is what I wanted. And then you have to put the other hat on and you're like, oh, nope. These 3 scenes, can't even modify them. They just got to go. And then now you got to put the writer's hat back on. Son of a bitch. Now I got to rewrite around those. Got to work this in. Got to work that in, and then as the money guy, you're just like with your little clicker, chick. Nope. That's it. You can afford like 5 shots with that makeup, or, you can bump it down and we can stretch it out. It's insane. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you and all of the people who do this, that wear half or more of the hats. It's like, damn.
Yeah. Like even going back to Zombie with a Shotgun, every day, we had to rewrite the script, and I'm like 3 a.m, just like, okay, let's figure this out. And it's crazy because, a lot of times it's people keep, locations fail. Oh my God. Actors were supposed to come in that day and location failed. And the actor says, I can't come another day. I'm actually can't come at all.
Yeah.
I have the next time I could do this is probably in the next couple of weeks. We didn't have money to have it. We scheduled for, I forget how many days we scheduled, I think for 12 or 13 days shoot straight. And remember, we did like 4 or 5 times. We had to get back together to shoot because we took 3 years to film.
Yeah. So
I remember, and I'm doing other films too. I was like, this comes with the territory, but it was like, damn, because we'll break down around 10. Everything, takes 2 hours, eat, come through, and it's like, damn, now it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Rewriting the scene. And you have that golden script. You have that, you're like, this is it. This is the script, but it's not, especially if you're going to work the way, an indie artist is going to work, where locations might not come through, actors can't make it. So many things happen, so it's, you don't have extra money to say, okay, we'll extend this to 3 or 4 more days shoot or whatever. So many things has changed. So go back with Zombie with a Shotgun too. There's so many, I get so many people asking me, so, how, how's the script going? I said, well, right now we have a script where it's a, it's more of a budget where we want to shoot it for. Like, I can't write the script for $1 million film,
Right.
So I have a script there for it. If we happen to make more money or even less money, we have to change it. There's things that we have to go in and change and say, this is what we have to do because we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this. So that is, that's that. I don't know. That's the horror itself of becoming an indie filmmaker, and
adaptability.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even. It's kind of like it's hard now, for indie filmmakers now. Like people, I get people to tell me, oh, how, what is the best things, give me, words of wisdom for indie filmmaking. I try to tell them, like, it's hard now. Now it's become harder, to come in as an indie filmmaker, because a lot of the things like you're saying too is that what you said before. Everyone is having this sort of like mindset is that Netflix is the way filmmaking should be.
Right.
But yeah, indie filmmaking, that is the thing of and that's what I love about it. I love the challenge. And I think I might have told you before when you had me. It's like having this huge dollhouse, and you have to create the dollhouse. You have to make rooms and who sleeps here, who's there, who's in this room, who's in that room, and then you have to change it. You're just constantly changing the dollhouse. Of like, okay, we can't. This is not going to look good for today. Let's just change it around. And I love that. I love that whole thing of just creating and on the fly. It's stressful, but at the end, it's just like, oh, this is so cool. I love it.
Yeah, we talked to a couple of weeks ago, director of an indie film who the day before they started shooting, one of his main characters, one of his main actors, got bit by a spider and ended up hospitalized.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get another actor. They didn't have time. So he ended up giving all the lines to another one of the characters in the film.
Well, yeah, this character was a king. So
right.
they decided shift it to the queen, right? And do some different things. But yeah, they were up until like 3-4 in the morning because they're like, well, we got to shoot tomorrow. Yeah. And I think what's awesome about indie film, not just the creators, but the actors, to be able to get up, hit the set by 8 a.m. because you start shooting at noon. And then by 8:01, they're like, so remember that movie we were doing? I'm changing all this shit. And you've got about 1 hour to get right with it. And we're going to go, that level of flexibility is so cool that it happens.
I feel for that. I feel for that filmmaker. I hope this film came out. Sometimes it comes out, better than you actually intended it to be. But yeah, I mean that's happened. Go back to the set. We had about 4 or 5 people, no shows, and the good thing is that we always had somebody sort of like stand by. So that was a really good thing, And that was I was going to shoot the film in Los Angeles. Last minute. I decided to stay in New York because that was the thing I was telling Kyle. I said, Kyle, I really, being born here in New York City, I could get actors on the fly.
Yeah.
I just could call. And it worked out for that because so many times actors, I can't make it. I would go on the phone and say, hey, what are you doing today? Nothing. Come on, let's go. You want to be in the film? So, they're like, yeah. And it always worked out very well for that. And I think that was a good decision I made. I said, we stay in New York City. And because of my contacts I had no relationship. And I know Kyle did, but LA is a different beast. Everything's about money. I could get actors here in New York City. Is the only place that you can do a short film, even a feature, and you don't pay nobody.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how New York City works. Like, okay, I could get you food. I'll pay you food, your transportation, a credit and everything. That still works in New York City, believe it or not.
Right. I'll buy you some beer and a pizza.
Yeah. that will not work nowhere else. I've done many shorts like I've done many shorts like that. Hey, get your food, transportation. Many times they come in and it's like, no, I got to go. I can't eat. See you later. It's like, oh, that was a bargain. You just paid for his transportation.
That actually brings up important thing.
Tell me.
Resources. Right?
Yeah.
Because we've talked to a lot of people. We've heard the guys at Pondo Enterprises and stuff, right? All their stuff is focused with Sealy Productions and Eric and everything in Arizona. So, but they've talked about, everyone has talked about being in their area, right? And you have the connections and the resources. You have a lifelong network, right? You know how it works for you where you are. And we've heard some horror stories of, an indie film packs up, shoves everything in the van, goes somewhere else to shoot this. And when there's a problem, you have no fallback because you're a day away from all your resources, and indie film can't survive that. You can't call up a guy and say, well, I'll be there in 2 days, or in 2 days, I'll be free. Well, it didn't take you a fucking day to get here. How are we going to do that? We got to hole up somewhere, for all this time. I think that was probably the smartest thing you did was stay with what you know. And when something like that happens, so for this film that we were talking about, the film is Beowulf. It's by David Axe. And what it is it's a gender swapped, Beowulf is a woman, and it's kind of a comedy. It does a bunch of stuff. The king, the actor who played the king getting bit by the spider, actually worked in their favor because reverting it to the queen, now it's a very female oriented by accident.
Yeah.
Right. Even more so. And when we watched it, we would have never guessed. Yeah. It looked so natural that everyone working their little bits.
Yeah.
But, if that happened when you were, like I said, like a day away, you're 1,000 miles from home, and you got this location that was beautiful. Maybe that actor, the queen's not there to talk to do this. Her availability, you know what I mean? She was there to, be in the background for like 3 shots.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, guess what? You're going to take 100% of this role.
I don't know. I think that it's kind of like Coal to Diamonds, the adaptability and flexibility and like decisions you have to make on the fly. Not in every case, but I think in a lot of cases, like having to work within constraints makes better stuff,
Yeah, it definitely. And again, like going back to resources in New York City, like so many times, like, oh man, we don't have these lights. And then we'll just get the assistant, either take a yellow cab or taxi. He'll be back in 45 minutes, tops an hour.
Yeah.
And, so many times we needed like fog spray or we were like, go ahead, take a cab, take an Uber. 45 minutes, he'll be back with a case of fog spray and everything like that. And that was just the great thing about, and I felt really comfortable because that's where I am, from New York City. So I'm like, shoot, go ahead, go, let's go. So that was that was a good thing because the resources were all in my backyard. And also like a lot of the people that were with me, they knew this places, better locations where to get the stuff better than I do. It's like, no, I know better spot. I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Cool.
So, and it was funny because where I shot too, I no longer reside there. It was, it was my place. It was in Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Chinatown is also the light district. So we needed lights. Like all the lights are there. It's like, okay, go down the block. The light bulb broke. And I remember the light, like a lot of the light bulbs weren't working, or they popped. Just down the block, just all the lights, everything for every single sort of light bulb. They have like this place called Light Bulb World, and they had every single light bulb you needed. So it was just
nice.
it was really good. Yeah, it was really good to get the stuff there. And even like when we needed costumes, it's like in Chinatown they have like all these like thrift shops and stuff. And we were buying all these things. It was so cool. But
see now, me, I think if I was in New York and I had the money to do all this, the first thing that comes, my only experience with anything there, and there's obviously hundreds of outlets to get equipment and stuff, but I always think of, man, if I were ever to go to New York and shoot on a camera, I think of Adorama. That's where I have gotten like most of my stuff. It's like, I know they got one location in the world. It's this massive building. They have everything. You can walk in and say, I need this, if you got the money for it, because some of their rentals are, but I love that feel. And it's weird because I'm, halfway across the country from that store, but for decades, they were my feeling safe just as a photographer,
Yeah.
You know what? I know that I can call them up, tell them exactly what I need. They'll box it and I'll give them my number and we'll express it. And then, latest day after tomorrow, depending what time I call, I can unpack this thing, either attach the lens or, whatever it was I needed. That's why that whole resource thing is so valuable and it's so little talked about,
But it's true. It's true. That was one place we went to. It was only 20 blocks away from our location. So it was like, boom, right there. It's like probably, I would say 4 train stops and boom. Yeah. That's the thing about the subway. That's the good thing. Subway system in Manhattan. It's just, you can get anywhere in Manhattan, which is like so quick. So that was really important. And this time around, we definitely want to shoot it again in New York City.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't wait. I don't want to like hit you up for, plot points and stuff. Cause I think we talked offline a couple times about where you're going with it. Like I'm excited.
I've talked about how we're introducing the vampires this time around. And, that's probably the main kind of cool thing about the vampire and how he's, he's searched for his heart because, the heart was taken away from him in part 1.
Right.
So his whole mission is to find where his heart is as he's deteriorating because the heart is gone. We find out that, that's where he bumped into this whole vampire world, and that's how it gets introduced while he's looking for his heart. So it's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, I've come to we had to choose different, an angle to go due to the fact that so many people are gone. There's so many people just gone different ways, and that goes for everything, right? How many people we know that was working in some sort of like company, like they were doing probably insurance, and then now COVID, they're freaking doing something totally different, construction or the people doing real estate. There's so many other people, just not in the arts world, but some people left. People, and I think it was like a reset button, kind of like where people was like, what?
I quit a day job with no notice, and I was just like, I'm done. And started doing something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Remote work.
Yeah.
The whole work from home thing.
I think that's when people's were, that was in their mind. A lot of people it made everyone feel like I've been missing so much.
Yeah.
My life is passing by so much for me just working. And is it really worth it? Yeah. Maybe I get a little less pay. Big deal.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You always have to look for the good things that happen out of the bad things that hit us in life. Right. And I think one of the good things is it forced, across generations, it forced people to really evaluate, what is my life about? What is it that makes me happy? Right.
Yeah.
I've talked with people a lot. It's like, what? I've had super giant paychecks and I wasn't anywhere fucking near to being happy. I had that sense of accomplishment. I want a big paycheck. I got it. Bam, that was it. I look at, and it's funny when you have job interviews, everyone's always like, so where do you see yourself? I don't see myself anywhere in 5 years, man. It's wherever the fucking wind takes me, whatever makes me happiest. I'm not looking
what makes me happy today might not be the same thing that makes me happy tomorrow.
Right. And, I'm not here to make, this much and then go up and I want to make this much in 5 years and this and that, because you know what? As long as I can pay my bills, my rent and my food, then anything else is just mad money. Right. It's just, stuff to do shit with, but I'm looking for that satisfaction, time with my family, time with my kids. Do I want to get a high powered job where, it's 83 hours a week? Hell no, because my daughter's going to grow up and move out and go her own life. And I'm going to wonder what happened. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I remember this thing with diapers and then all of a sudden the house is empty. Where have I been? Kind of stuff. But I think that also came down to the creative aspects of it. I think it was like a culling of the herd. We've had so many people say, if you can quit doing anything in this creative sphere, if you can quit acting, writing, directing, whatever, then do it. If you can't, it's the ones you can't. It's like, oh man, this is not going to make me any money. This is such a pain in the ass, but I can't wake up, and not do this during the day. I can't not do this. But I think a lot of people had that, call to the carpet, come to Jesus meeting, where is this really me? And and good for them, because, they were confronted with a situation where they had to be honest and like, no, acting is not actually what I want to pour myself into. And I think that's a huge thing. I think that's great for them because they're going to find what they want to pour themselves into. But, in the industry, it's bad for the industry. We want people to be happy and fulfilled, but it's also like, oh shit, my pool of talent has just dwindled to a guy who, sticks toothpicks in eggs without them leaking. I don't know how I'm going to make it from here, man. This is it. But yeah, it does bring up a question. Cause we've never actually asked anybody this, and I was just thinking about it. So a lot of people think that when anyone's involved in indie film, like Hilton, you are getting like royalties and residuals, and you're just like, floating through the day, and you decide one day, you know what, I actually want to do something, and you don't have to worry about it. But the harsh reality is nobody's hardly making shit from any of this, even long term. That's like the 80 percentile of people in this, like the Pondo guys, they just like dump money into it, get almost nothing back, but they're not going to stop. They're just going to dump money into it. David Ryan Keith, who did Redwood Massacre, he talks to us frequently about all the jobs he gets. Someone hires him to do sound mixing. Someone hires him to do the color correction. Someone hires him to re-edit something, and he does way more of that than his actual filmmaking, because that's what pays the bills. And just not looking like for your resume, but I'm just like, what? Everyone's so different. This in between stuff, where does your energy go?
As in what? Energy as in?
Oh, just like, so you wake up Monday morning. You've got, all this stuff going for Zombie with a Shotgun 2. You got to get this campaign going. And obviously there's all the back end stuff. You got to start connecting. But what else comes into Hilton's day or week that like feeds being in this business?
Be in this business. Interesting. It's so, it's a good question. So, it's let me rewind it a little bit. You said something before about, about having your crew, how you have your dedication crew and everything like that. So I started like filmmaking, I don't know how many years. I mean, wow, I would say over such a long time, going 25 years plus. And I can remember it would always be like almost every 3 to 4 years, I had like my own specifically crew and cameraman and everything. And it's changed. And you know why? Because a lot of those people left. Mm-hmm. And some people I still talk to, and they'd be like, oh man, I can't believe you're still doing that. How you're surviving and how do you do it? And I could tell you, I went by like 6 or 7 crews that and it's sadly, I'm going to tell you, they no longer do filmmaking. Yeah. And it kind of like makes me feel like, wow, you know, but what the hell, it's like, and I do have right now, I have my other crew that I always look for right now. And I hope they don't retire anytime soon. And it just makes you wonder. It's like, I just, the people always say, oh, why you torture yourself? And I had one good friend that always tell me, I can't believe you. He said something really good to me. He said, I can't believe you're playing the rich man sport. Right. And I was like, oh, really? He goes, it's a rich man sport. I said, yeah, it is a rich man sport. But, I love doing what I do. And it just for so long that I've been doing it. And I just feel like I don't know, it's this drive for me just to keep on going and doing it because I love it so much. I've loved it ever since I was a little kid, growing up watching all these movies and stuff like that. And I don't know, I don't know what the drive is. I just love it so much. I just keep on doing it. It's like so much like, it's like, why, like James Gunn, I remember his blog, he said people asked him a question. It's like, what do you tell somebody who wants to be a filmmaker? And he says, don't do it. Yeah. He's like, don't do it. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I do, when I was younger, I wrote a lot of like indie films that had like sort of like these messages, and it was like this whole like kind of like art house, films and stuff. Right. And I love that. I still write like, my stuff is still has a indie house feel to it. And it's sad because you start to realize that, that you can't really write indie house. That's not the way to make money. That's not the way to go. So you start to change your way of writing, and that kind of gives you discouragement of everything, of becoming, what you want to do as a filmmaker. But I think I was fortunate, and I'll tell you why. It's like I grew up in New York City. I grew up in mainly in a family sort of like a style. My parents came from farms and stuff, and they came in. They created this family business in New York City. Mm-hmm. And I became one of the farmers for them. It's kind of like that kind of thing. I worked with them. So being in New York City and working with family and stuff like that, I was able to also do kind of my art. I was very fortunate in that. And I get it when so many people say, hey, I have to pay the bills and everything, and I think this is the first time I've even saying this to anybody that about my life. Like I was very fortunate that I had a job always in the back. Because I worked in the family. So I kept on doing the arts. So every day I would wake up, I would definitely go to work and everything like that. And then I would be like, okay, I could do this also. I was doing this whole thing, and I never had to really like kind of like worry to like, oh, something's going to happen, because I had this backdrop of, I had this job always there permanently. Unfortunately, the job went away, and I was able to, all the stuff that I've learned from filmmaking and stuff like that, I was ready to go out there and do my own stuff. So, and I was very lucky with that. And that was sort of like my whole like daily basis of just waking up. I would go to work and stuff like that, and I always have time for filmmaking. But, another thing like a lot of people tell me is like, I have children. I have kids. They're not, and believe it or not, they're not children anymore. Two is in college and everything like that. But I think the big drive I did, and I'll tell you a cool story. So when I did Zombie with a Shotgun, and I remember the kids would always say, this was a big, pretty drive for me. The kids would always say, oh man, look, you did it. You did the film. And I was like, yeah, we're going to have this, we had a opening reception. So they were like, oh man, we're going to go. I said, obviously you guys are going to come, right? So, I invited my whole family and everything. So the big drive there is when I came back home, I was like, oh man, did you guys love it? They're like, yeah, like, congratulations, Dad, you did it. And I was like, no, I really didn't give a shit about the reception. I really didn't. I said, I didn't give a shit about the reception. I didn't give a shit about, that whole glory. I said, what I cared about was to show you guys that you could do anything you want to do. Mm. Right. So they were like, oh, they're like, what? and I was like, yeah, that, if you want to talk about a drive, that was a drive.
Yeah.
That to me was like, and it was true. It was like, I don't give a shit. I really didn't give a shit about the reception. I wanted to show you guys that you can do whatever you want to do. And
that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That was like that to me was like, big, so yeah. I mean, it's just so many things. And, me having, the family and having me working in the family business and me working in the film thing, it always made me on my feet also.
Nice.
You know how it is. You guys have
Yeah.
kids, having four was driving me crazy every day. And it's like waking up, you got this, you got that, you got this. So it kept you like, oh man, I got to make this film. So
yeah,
that was crazy. Like I said, now too was in college and everything. That also was a drive of me just keep on. It was always on my toes. I was always every day waking up and having four heads in front of my face. What are we going to do, Dad? Yeah.
I think that's a shift that not all creatives, I mean, you have to have kids to understand it, right?
Yeah.
As a creative, we talk about, this is always, it's a very self-centered thing, right? I do this to feed my hunger, fill my heart with my desire to write, to create, to sculpt this with words, this whole thing. And then together we do that. It just elevates it a bit. But then when you bring a kid into the mix, it becomes that journey, like you just said. What we do this still for us, but now there's that added component of, we're showing our daughter, you can do what you want to do and don't let anything stop you. Now we've had a break for a while, cause things conspire to just take all those spare minutes away from you where you can't just get the job done. But we talk about it in that, you don't have to do it every day, all day to be quote doing it. Yeah. Right.
Correct.
One thing I said in our last podcast was if life has happened and has taken you away from your creative endeavor, whether you're a writer, painter, songwriter, anything that's creative, quit sweating about it because one day you're going to wake up and be like, oh, all right, now I can get back into it. Your talent and everything that's there is going to be there waiting for you. It's not like, if you don't feed the hamster, it's going to die. Your talent and creative force is always going to be there for you. So we love showing her, look at, the people we've talked to. We get to talk to you. To us, that's huge. It's a contact we would never have made had we not followed what we love to do. And, starting this podcast, doing the whole thing. And it's just there. So we use that to motivate her. She plays violin, does very well. She decided one day to pick up my guitar. I don't play guitar. I've had it for 20 something years. I still can't remember the 3 chords I taught myself, but, she's annoying us now. She wants an electric guitar. She wants all this and that because she just picked this thing up and with YouTube and
started teaching herself how to play.
Yeah. Finding music online. She taught herself to play the guitar and we're like that's creative. That's the creative in you reaching out to expand and don't let anybody shit on it. And, if this is what you want to do, we're 100% behind you. You don't have to let anyone tell you need to get up and get a 9-to-5 job.
Although we're not going to buy you an electric guitar right this moment.
Not right this moment. She's got to reach that next level of playing. And then we told her we'll talk about the electric guitar, but there's nothing wrong with that guitar right now. But to show, like you're showing your kids, which is like, there aren't even words for it. That is just how life should be. But I like to feel like all of us just doing the shit that we're doing. We're, putting things out, trying to get someone to shoot this and make that. But that's showing like just the general people, other creatives, you can do whatever you want. You can. And, you actually have physical, proof with movies and stuff.
And, I'm going to piggyback on that. Pretty interesting, right? Because, I would tell you 95% of people don't know I have children and they see that I do filmmaking and everything like that. And when they find out, they like, how do you do it? I don't understand. They get a little, mind fucked.
Yeah.
And I tell you, 95% of people just don't have no idea. So I started realizing that 95% of like filmmakers don't start families. because they have this, like you say, there's no doubt about it. It's this self-indulging sort of thing about you want yourself to be this great artiste and everything like that. And 95% don't have children. They wait for that big break.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just very different, like, I'm not saying I'm different in a better way than anybody. I just had kids when I was young, it just happened, I guess living in the fast life in New York City, it happens. And I just realized so many people, when they find out like, oh, you have kids, it's like, yeah, no, you have kids. No. And I've heard this so many times from a lot of artists. And I'm like, oh, okay. What, you think you're going to have kids? Like, no, I'm going to wait for my first break, my first big film. And I've told people straight out, yo, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You're going to stop your life for that, for big break. So I had this fill out this questionnaire, and I was looking for funds for films and everything. And there was a question that asked if you would ever do a TEDx discussion, what it would be about. And I never came to my mind. It just came right there. Boom. I was like, oh my God. I think my TEDx discussion would be about, not stopping your life as an artist. There's more to it. If you feel like you want to get married, get married. If you feel like you want to have kids, have them. Don't let anything stop you from being that artist, because life passes you by, and it does. We know time is not forever. I got artists, and I just thought about that. I thought that would be a pretty cool discussion because of how many artists don't live their life really because of their sort of like self-indulging thing. If I want to be this great artist and stuff like that. And I'll tell you a really quick story. I had this big film. I'm not going to mention his name. I had a big filmmaker come to have dinner with me in my house. My wife was cooking this great dinner for him. He came. He said, "Oh, Hilton, I'm coming over. I'm visiting New York. I want to come over." I said, "Oh, I'll get my wife, and the kids." And, so the kids came. My kids know him. Everyone's hugging him and everything. And then we, as I would say, the boys have boys time. So him and I, we sat in the couch and we was talking. And he looks at me and he's like, "Man, if I could trade everything to be with you, he says, I would do it." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Wow, really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I can't have kids." He said, I'm too old." He says, I'm not, for me to get married, me to find somebody, me to have kids. And he says, because me, I my whole life, I wanted to be this filmmaker. Now I'm a filmmaker. He goes, now I'm lonely. And I was like, yeah, but you can't pick and choose. I said, you did it. I said, you're an established artist. And he was like, nah. He said, this is what I should have done. This is what I want this. And I was so mind boggled by him, but like, wow, this guy I knew him for like over 20 years. And his whole, I want to be this great filmmaker. Right? He is he is a great filmmaker. And just made, when he left and everything, I just made me think like, wow, that guy to say that's pretty big. And and it was kind of sad because he was very sincere and he was very lonely. And then I think about it, I was like, wow, he is lonely.
We've talked about this.
As a kid, even I remember I didn't know any adult who like had a big dream or a big, like passion they were following. All the adults I knew like gave up everything and did everything all for their kids. Like my mom worked 3 jobs for us and I love her very much, but she never did anything for herself. And then growing up, it was put in my mind that like doing anything for myself was selfish and bad and, all of that nonsense. And I wish that I had known an adult who did stuff for themselves and followed their passion and followed their dreams. And so that's what I want to show my kid, while still being a good parent.
Yeah. My family was all blue collar. You get up, you go to the factory, you come home, pay your bills, make sure your kids are alive, and then you do it all again. And I had like my grandfather, I loved him dearly, but I've talked about it a lot. He's constantly, what the hell are you doing? What is this nonsense? How the hell are you going to make money doing that?
We have them. We always have family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I mean, that's pointed. I think we've talked about also too many times, being a creative is actually the worst place to be for mental health, for everything, because it is a business where you're constantly rejected. It is a business where you're compared against everybody else. It is a business that offers you no solid, I mean, no matter how much you love what you do, this time tomorrow, you could be done by no choice of your own. There is nothing about this that is truly rewarding in like the big umbrella sense. It's all in here. The only reason people do it is to find that reward in here. I wrote a script. I don't care if it's shit. I did it. I started fade in and I got all the way to fade out and I'm done. Right. And that's enough to get to the next level. But it's that whole thing of, I just want to create. I just want to write my novel, my short story. I want to paint this picture. I want to, get out there and take the pictures I want to take so I can visually capture whatever it is that's in my head. Those successes are great. But then after that, it's just miserable. And then when you add to that sacrifices that you make, like your friend, I got to dive into this and then turn your back on family and relationship, or creating a family, starting with a relationship and having someone and stuff. Yeah, I can imagine there's tons of people out there, and we hear it from like some of the celebrities. Like, what would you do if you could do it all over again? Not this. Not at all.
That is funny. And, and again, it's like, I always feel, blessed again, because I feel like, me, I didn't, I just went with the punches.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, you know what? Listen, as you could see, I said, I'm going to make my films and I'm going to have this family. And I decided like, nothing is going to stop me from not being a filmmaker, and nothing's going to stop. And look, man, I got 2 more that's almost out of the house. And then I'm like, look, I'm still fairly young. And I'm like, wow. I look back at it and I was like, wow, those choices that I made was just, to me, was like unbelievable. It's like, oh man, even though they're all pain in the asses, but,
as all kids are,
even though it's like, so it's like, okay, but that it's it's heartbreaking because I see it all the time. People say, oh, I have one of my good friends. He's like in his 60s and he's like, damn, I should have had a family. He says it all the time. Like, it's all right, man. It is what it is. But yeah, something with the whole thing about being a creative artist stops a lot of people. And I just kind of feel like it sucks.
It does. And we try to express, especially to our daughter, being a creative is not what you are, it's who you are. You don't have to be a creative that comes with the job description and the sacrifices and all the shit that people say that, has to happen to sacrifice for your art. Live your life. Your creativeness is going to come with you every step of the way, whether you're doing it today or wait until tomorrow to write or, play your tunes or whatever. But let everything else happen. Don't let it hold you back, and don't let it lead your life. Lead it. That creative hunger really doesn't know where it wants to go. It just knows it needs to do something. Well, that's where you come in. I want to do that. Me and my creative hunger are going to focus on writing this script or this series or shoot this film, or get involved in a film, make things happen, like they got a director and he's got some actors, but things aren't happening. So I'm going to step in. This is my creative contribution. And while you do that, live your life,
Yeah.
Have your snack, say hello to somebody, talk back to someone when they talk to you. Don't just like turn your back and run away like some little troll. If I start to have a life, I'll turn to stone kind of thing. Before we go, I want to talk to you about Frankenhooker.
Briefly.
Let's do it.
Because as listeners know, the last time we talked, you brought it up and I was just amazed. And then on Twitter, you had the VHS.
Yeah, I still didn't do the video of Franken. I'm still gonna do it. I go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
It's all good.
So we talked a little bit about before firing up. When we talked about that motivated me to, I'm going to look for that thing. Now, Frankenhooker is one of the true cult classics in that you can barely find this thing anywhere. And it wasn't, and it reinvigorated my search for it. And just the number of people who are out there digging around for not just a copy of this bad boy on VHS, but the original, VHS case that had the battery in it that you could hit the button, one a day, would sing out of it. And then when it came on digital, and I did find it on Tubi again. You have to actually.
Yes, it's on Tubi. It's on Tubi, and I think sometimes
it's also on Shudder. Yes. Yes. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's it. It's on the show. We're doing it. It's here.
Cover it.
What? I'm just curious. What makes it?
What?
I don't know. Why do you like it?
What gives it a special place in your heart?
Yeah. What's Hilton's connection?
Why is it a special place in my heart? Again, watching the film, there's two types of watching the film. When you first watch it and then you watch it, again, when you watch it a second time, or when you watch it this time, a lot of it now that I think about it is like, of course, being from New York and seeing that New York City vibe, it has this sort of creepy, haunted thing that you love about it.
Yeah.
But I have to say, one of the things about that film, it gave me a weird horror sensation that a lot of films don't have, that give you. Again, I don't know if they did that by it was by an accident or they knew what they were doing. I'm going to have to say it was an accident, because when you have that sort of different sort of horror sensation that you give people, it's just hard to to say, oh, this is what I meant to do, and watching that film, that feeling is just so creepy, weird, and it has that horror element that you just don't feel in other films. But it gives you that sort of sensation of like the world of, I don't know. It gives you this weird sort of like a scariness of like, oh my God, that felt like a horror. Like it was just so creepy, but it made you like go to sleep and think. And not a lot of films do that. You're kind of like, oh my God, did I just see that ending? That ending was just like that. and it's like, God, no way, and it's kind of like, Jesus Christ, when did they come up with that idea? But it's very intriguing, and it's very sort of like, it definitely, has this exploration of sexuality, and there's nothing wrong with that looking at that film. You look at it and you're kind of like, oh shit, again, I lived in New York City. I see the most craziest shit all the time being by Times Square and everything, just like, but like you watch that, you're like, holy shit, man, these guys who came up with this idea. I mean, did they think that, I think they just felt like, hey man, this is push the envelope on it. But I'm telling you, man, that movie, it's a reason why it comes in Shudder once in a while. And there's a reason why it's in Tubi, because I know it gives that feeling that I get to so many people, that so many people sort of embarrassed to talk about. Because, it has that sort of like sexuality that people don't want to talk about. They're afraid about it.
Right.
And it's very subversive, very ahead of its time in that sense.
And me, I like I said, being in New York City, I see this all the time. So I'm going to talk about it. So I think it does put a fear in that whole kind of thing about, saying, oh, Frankenhooker is a good movie. And people are going to look at me, what? What did you say?
Almost like they're going to fight you over it.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. So I think there's a reason why, and people don't want to say it. People are scared to admit it, but there's a reason why it comes in Shudder, because you know why? The numbers are there for people to watch it.
Yeah.
And if the numbers are there, it has to come back.
Yeah.
So when it comes in, so when Shudder's there and Tubi's there, there's a reason why people are watching it, but people don't want to talk about it.
No.
But again, I think that's what it is. I think it's a creepiness, but it's a that when you get that haunting, creepy feeling that you like, I think that gives it to people.
Yeah.
I think it does.
Well, we we call it the Citizen Kane of Troma's accomplishments, because it was done in 1990, but it exactly exemplified all of the movie making through the 80s of that particular type. The camp, the comedic approach to it. It's a comedy horror, but it's not, like a Jason Voorhees lurking in the shadows kind of thing. It hits you from so many different sides. And I have found in my life, people are embarrassed admitting they embrace that kind of stuff. And I don't know why. It's just so funny. In fact, it got us on a conversation after we talked about the movie. We were hitting the lessons and stuff. We got on a conversation so my favorite part, what made it sink in for me, it was fun to watch all the way through, but the ending is what nailed it. Because, first of all, Elizabeth / Frankenhooker, she was a victim and you look at it as, he was well-intentioned, but he also was looking for the perfect body. So now he's a misogynist. There was a lot of shit there, sexism and stuff. But, in the end, she just came out like a champ, right? She stopped being Frankenhooker when she woke up as Elizabeth and was chewing his ass out. What the fuck is this? Why is this my hand? Why is this this isn't my arm? And then Zorro comes in, does him up. I loved the fact that she didn't do it out of spite, but it showed Elizabeth come through like a champ again. She learned what he learned and put his ass back together. Unfortunately, because it only worked with, females' bodies, he woke up with all these the rest of the hooker's parts all stitched together. And I just, that impacted me. That whole what's good for the goose is good for the gander in a very literal sense in this film. I just love that ending. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't a thing. She's like, all right, this is how it is. But, Jeffrey, all right, well, I can do this. Read through his stuff. Here you go, Jeffrey. And I think what made it a lot, for most people, I know when I first saw it, the guys with me, they were uncomfortable at the fact that it's this guy's head on a woman's body.
Yeah.
Or patchwork woman's body. So we got into a big discussion about nudity on screen. This has got a lot of tits. I think more than the status quo for the time even, but check that box. A lot of suggestive stuff. But then we were talking about equality of nudity. Women should be able to go topless without it being a thing and da-da-da. And I remember it just came up, I don't know what it is about a dick that scares men. It doesn't make them feel uncomfortable, scares them. And we got in this whole thing of, so.
I think it's going to jump out and get him.
Yeah. A lot of shows are starting to deal with that and having full frontal nudity, male and female. And a lot of them get slammed and low ratings from men. And I'm just like, if you're sitting in an IMAX theater and there's a big giant dick on the screen, it's not going to jump out at you. Right. And, by this time in life, you should have grown up with one long enough to know it's not like it's its own entity. It doesn't wake up at night, come up, start slapping you around. All right, we're going to go do this. But I love that show because, Frankenhooker, because after seeing it the second time, after getting all that realization, then you go in packed, like you said, there's the scene, the first time you see it, and then all the other times you see it. And all the other times you see it, you go in armed with all the stuff that made it boom. And now you understand it. And then you just kind of find more and all that. I don't know. It's hilarious as hell. I love Patty Mullen in it. She did such a fantastic job for being a lead character who's absent 80% of the film.
That's funny.
And I love that there's a following of it. I love that people love it for whatever reason they do.
I love the ending, and he's so upset. And me watching as a woman, I was like, my dude, you're in for a whole new world of experiences now.
Yeah, he says it 4 different times. Where's my Johnson? Where's my Johnson?
Don't worry about it. You got something better, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting too, because it definitely gives for a female to watch it, and male gives a different perspective how the two genders definitely feel completely different. But dude, that was like, whoa, and I just wanted to show you that here's the box.
Yeah.
There it is. On a date.
So in the box, so right over here, right, the button is right here. You could hear it, but it doesn't turn on, right?
Right.
So my whole thing was I wasn't to make a video to go to some sort of watch guy that can go in there and fix it, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
So here's original VHS, right?
Yeah.
It's there. So when you look inside, like, it's a weird thing. I'm going to show you real quick. Let me see if I could get you guys, since we're on Frankenhooker, right? So when you pull this out, right? You pulled out, there's this mechanism that turns you see it?
Yeah.
That's the mechanism that turns the thing. So there's 4 batteries here. The 4 batteries you can see is like burnt. Like, it's not burnt, but like dead.
Sure.
Like,
Oh, yes.
see it, right?
Yeah, they're corroded.
Yeah.
So I would think a watch guy, like those watch guys. I mean, I'm thinking about going, Chinatown to fix it, but I found another guy that I think he fixed my watch, and I was like, oh, this guy can do it. So I'm thinking that probably would solve the problem, but I don't want to touch it because it looks like the batteries are soldered in.
It does look like they're soldered on.
Yeah, they're soldered in. So I'm like, I'm not going to touch that. Even if the guy messes it up, whatever, so.
It's not any worse off.
Well, and that's the thing. The guys at Troma, right? And Danny said this was a very Castle type promotion.
William Castle.
Yeah, the master of Lloyd's of London life insurance for seeing his horror films and, seats that buzzed and all that stuff. Troma wasn't thinking longevity with that. So that's why I look, they're soldered. I mean, it would be hard to fix. But I think someone can. What's that?
Yeah, I can't. I think definitely somebody could fix it. I'm going to, again, I kept on saying I am going to do it. But yeah, this I actually got this in a bargain, and then I looked it up. It is nearly impossible to find it.
Yeah.
To find a talking VHS box.
Oh, absolutely.
Even to show you the back, it's pretty cool. It shows like the backstories. It shows like these are the is that they chose for the box. But it is again,
there's a whole world of people would love to get their hands on that.
There's a quote from Bill Murray in the back that says, "If you only see one movie this year, it should be Frankenhooker."
Nice.
And Joe Briggs says, "Best of 90." So,
oh yeah,
they got two guys here that quoted pretty amazingly stuff. But yeah, it's, again, I haven't, of course I haven't played it, but it is Rewind, which it says "Be kind and rewind." It is Rewind. Yep. But yeah, it just that awesome smell of VHS still can't beat it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I miss it.
Yeah. So I had to take that out for you guys.
Oh man. Well, I'll ping you now and again, see where we are on this, because I wanted to. I'm going to be waiting for that little video of it. When you hit that button, bam, we get her voice.
I wonder. That's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty cool, but I think it can be fixed because it's not. There's no water damage or anything, but
it's just age.
It's just age. Just take the batteries out. And it's weird because it's 4 batteries.
That is a lot of batteries for a little. But I guess it was 1990.
Well, yeah, the D-size battery was still well in force. It was. You got to go bigger to get more. I mean, now we can put power in something the size of a pinpoint. So, we've come a long way. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah.
Oh,
that's pretty
man.
Cool.
Well, we'll check in on that. And
absolutely.
So, we're going to have like all the links. So to your Indiegogo, to your Patreon, to your YouTube channel, all that stuff is going to be in there. And anything else you send, afterwards, like that we might miss or anything, or even like affiliated.
B-siders, go support Zombie with a Shotgun Part 2.
Yeah, we need to make this happen. Just like we said with, and Kyle Hester's in on this. So, you're helping both of these guys. And like we said with Kyle, and we'll say it with Hilton, we're coming out of the darkness, and let's help these guys do it with like trained locomotive strength. Let's bust through the last of these barriers, whether COVID is behind us or comes back. I think we reached a point where we can push through. And everyone listening, you want to see the sequel. You want to see what comes next, right? I mean, it was all set up. Let's go see it.
It was set up. Yeah. I thank all the fans. I mean, every day I get about a dozen DMs, and I love the support. A lot of the DMs of I get is people that support me and how they are in bad situation, and not able to pitch in, but they support is like the project. They can't wait to see it, and I understand that. And again, I like to express my to the fans that thank you for all that support that you give me. But I get a lot of support on a daily basis, and they're awesome.
Well, and that brings up a good point, because I follow both the channels, but Kyle's been out there just making videos of him helping build an office space.
Yeah.
And now I love his drives, down Sunset in Hollywood the last couple of months.
Yes.
And, but it makes a good point. He's not doing it to fish for the money. I mean, he mentions it, but more importantly, folks, you don't have to give them money to help support them. If you watch their stuff, subscribe, like their videos, if you help expand and get that algorithm to trick in and expand the presence, the more you do this, the more these guys are going to show up on suggestions from YouTube, the more that information is going to go out. Or you could forward, this episode to somebody. Helping isn't always money. Money is always loved and welcomed. But right.
Yeah.
But you can do your part as a whole for the industry by just, we don't have any major contacts, and we can't, hook you up with some dude who's got, bankrolls. But what we can do is things like this, and we can put it out there, and we can talk about it, and we can, share it with people, and, support how you can, folks. And you're not going to be sorry. If you're a new listener, catch up. Just, look up our Zombie with a Shotgun episode, do a search on Hilton. Previous 2 talks will come up. Same with Kyle, because Kyle talks about Zombie with a Shotgun as well. And do your thing. Let's make this happen. So what, before we go, timeline. Ideally, when would you like to have both feet on the ground, actually starting, even pre-production? Like the actual kickoff.
I would say by the end of the year, around the last quarter of the year. That would be awesome.
So getting things kicked off in 2022 and full motion in 2023. That first quarter. Okay. All right, folks. We have a goal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. B-siders. We have been talking with Hilton Ariel Ruiz, the master behind Zombie with a Shotgun. We're going to have links to his shorts, his documentaries. That's a whole other episode we could talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
And
social media,
everything.
All the links. Check them out.
So gracious to have you on for a third time. We very much appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And we're looking for that fourth time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll have it back.
You're damn right.
All right, man. Thank you again, and peace, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
It is always so fun talking to Hilton.
It is. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think part of the reason I love our conversations with him is because they get so kind of real and raw, and, we go off topic a lot.
Yes.
Right. But we have excellent conversations with him.
We do. And and this time there wasn't really like a whole topic. I mean, the point was to bring, talk about Zombie with a Shotgun 2.
Yeah. Check out those links in the show notes.
Yes.
Please.
Yes. There'll be tons of stuff there, and, get out there, watch the things on the YouTube channel, and just, follow the links, folks.
Yeah.
Follow the links, to the fundraiser, to everything. Cause, we really do want to see the sequel. And we did say, there was a lot of stuff we didn't talk about. Mm-hmm. He kind of just gave the very high top down.
Yeah.
The not even so much like the whole plot.
Yeah.
But expanding on things that we had talked about in the first one that he said were there to set up for the second one.
I mean, yeah,
But-
there were a lot of things I wanted to ask about the plot, but I didn't want to kind of like pressure him into giving too much away. Like the vampires. What kind of vampires?
Right.
Right?
And we'll find out. Ooh.
Sexy vampires, right? Or like Wes Craven vampires,
Right.
Or like Buffy. I don't know. What?
Well, if you remember from the first one, it's scheming vampires for sure.
Right.
Because there's a whole thing that was going on, that wasn't the main story,
Right.
but it was happening underneath all the rest.
Right. Or the vampires like in Klans Rule. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't wait to figure it out.
And we did hear a little bit more about what it's about in our previous talks,
Yes.
the off-air stuff, but we, like with everything, we keep it close to our chest, and,
Yeah.
we don't let things out.
We don't spill secrets.
No. Things that, the greatest thing about this is the reality.
Yeah.
This was like a casual talk, like we did with Kyle.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We talked about, the move and, and then moving back and, the continuous, just the never ending slog of trying to get movies done in the indie world,
Just the chats between comrades where we almost forget that we're recording a podcast.
Yeah. Oh man. And, we may have Kyle back on again. He and Hilton are supposed to be talking, and he's going to mention it. And we'd love to have everybody back on, we love talking to everybody, but, interesting things. So, Hilton trying to do this, but he's also, working on some other stuff that we're not going to talk about. But everyone, knows Kyle Hester is trying to finish Preacher 6, and, he's doing his thing. And now he's, back here as a producer.
Right.
And we didn't ask Hilton, but, Kyle said, Hank's going to be back.
All right.
The bounty hunter. A little more to do, maybe, but it's just really fun. And I think educational for everybody to understand.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get in it, I mean, this shit goes on forever. Kyle's got his foot in all these camps. Hilton's got his foot in all the camps. You're trying to get your thing done.
Yeah.
We talked about it, but, family.
Yeah.
Right. Family should take precedent.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And everybody's situation is different.
Like you can't wait to live your life.
Right.
Right.
Like when we were wanting to talk to Cliff, we had to postpone because real life got in the way.
Oh yeah.
Dude had some stuff to do at work, and it was a nightmare. We won't get into that, but I know that stuff. Things don't go right. So you get to what you can get to.
Absolutely.
And we've said that last time and the time before.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we need to recap anything. I think it's all right there.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's
good stuff.
It's just work. It's a lot of work. Nothing just happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, like in Hollywood, right? We've read all the stories. Let's use Rogue One for an example, right? The complete script rewrite, brought in a powerhouse director, same with, the Solo movie.
Sure.
Right. They had to bring Ron Howard in to fix it,
Even with that.
Sometimes if the foundation is just rotten, I mean, you can try and do some stuff, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people like that movie. I don't. I wear the shirt because, it's the only Star Wars shirt I could buy when they had that sale.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to start with good bones.
Yeah. But so even in the big league, right, in the top tier of filmmaking, script rewrites are a thing.
Constantly.
Reshoots.
It's never done until it's being shown to people.
Right. Rogue One, they had to reshoot practically the entire movie because the suits were like, what the fuck did you just give us?
I actually did like Rogue One though.
Well, yeah, the finished product. If we just saw the original, no one would have liked it, but I did like Rogue One. Anyway, so in the big tier, you have all that. And then now down in the DIY of indie, having to rewrite on the fly, not because, there's something wrong with the plot, not because, somebody above me, because there is nobody above you,
Right.
said this isn't good. It's
because Susan, who's playing your main character, is sick or can't come in.
Yep.
Or,
or moved, or because, everyone involved.
Or because the location you wanted to film in, you can't go there anymore.
Yeah. So many things can get in the way, and you have to rewrite to accommodate that.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, just crazy, See, this is why we don't want to do this whole hog. We want to just write.
Well, we tried that out and we did not like it. So
no,
writing.
To be fair, though, if we did, because we did think about doing the one short on our own.
Yeah.
And then COVID, and it's something we could do. We've never done it in charge.
That's true.
Right. That's the thing. Like say, for some reason we had some money and we could like dump it in, right. And bring Zombie with a Shotgun to budget level. Bam. Things are ready to go.
Right.
And partnered with Hilton. It would be way different than what we did before. Right.
Well,
This is one of those cases where we'd be coming in, okay, this is your thing, and we're happy to help.
Right.
Right. Now, if later we went to Hilton and said, got anything going? He's like, nope, blank slate. Hey, man, we got some funding. You want to come on? Instead of being the boss, because that's the thing. The director, when you get a director, you have to work closely.
Well,
right?
yeah.
And, it's kind of that thing as well, we're going to do a 50-50. We're pretty lenient. We're able to work with folks and understand what we don't understand, and we learned that, this is the thing that has to happen and we need to make it happen. Tell me what we need,
Mm-hmm.
Can do that. Whereas before it was trusting. And then we're like, oh, this is terrible.
Well, but
this is not what no.
For example, if we decided, this summer we're going to film that short that we wanted to film before COVID hit, which is not going to happen because we have other priorities going on.
Yeah, way too many things.
But I think we would approach it very differently.
We would. And the thing about when you're like Hilton and David and Cliff and Marty and stuff, all these folks, when you're doing it on your own, you are it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the writer, the director, the producer, sometimes an actor in it. It is just you, and that's where you have to develop a team who, will deliver, but also sit down and say, hey, Jim, Danny, this one thing. Right. Instead of just like, yes, boss, but other than that, all that shit on your shoulders.
I do think you learn best by doing, though.
You too. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone that we've talked to at this point in their life, they're a different filmmaker than they were before. David Ryan Keith is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Like him and Liam just like went for it and was so disorganized and they had no fucking idea. And, Lorraine, his girlfriend at the time, just like, this is stupid.
Right. Organize yourselves.
Yeah. Sat down with a spreadsheet and whipped him into shape. And that is now how they do things.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's better for it, So yeah, you learn while doing.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. B-Siders, we're going to have all the links. I encourage you to see all the things that Hilton has done. There's some documentaries and stuff, things that he's got tons of stuff on his channel. Seek it out, see what you're getting into.
Yeah. Search him on Tubi, Hilton Ariel Ruiz.
Yeah.
His stuff will come up.
Yep. Good stuff. Cause we want to see what's happening.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And it's an elevated, instead of a zombie at the end, it's going to be all the way through.
I know.
Like you said, it's pricey. So I'm excited to see. So yeah, give what you can. And like we said, if you can't contribute with money because you just don't have it, hey, not a problem. Like, subscribe, share.
Yeah.
Right? Get it out there. Point it out there, because for every person who does that, 10 people will see it, and so on and so on. And somewhere in there will be someone who's like, oh yeah, I can I can dump some cash into this and help
Yeah.
him out.
I mean, he's
You know?
even got a merch store. You can check out his merch store.
Yeah, 'cause he's got some killer stuff.
Yeah.
Killer stuff there. All right. Well, I don't know if there's anything more to say.
I don't think there is.
Help make this movie, folks.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll catch you next week.
Yeah. So keep at it, B-Siders. Until then, this is Jim.
And this is Danny.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.